Hi guys, welcome back to today's lesson. So we'll be looking at CRS 01 under that aspect, the arguments and evidence against the Mosaic authorship of the Pentateuch. So in our previous lesson, we looked at the arguments in support of Moses being the author of the Pentateuch. So today we'll be looking at the arguments and evidence against that. So what is one of the arguments against Mosaic authorship of the Pentateuch? One argument there is the scholarly challenges to traditional authorship, and this one can be seen in the linguistic analysis, historical criticism, and theological differences. And we also have textual inconsistencies, whereby the Pentateuch contains duplicate accounts of the same events, such as the creation story, which can be found in Genesis 1 and 2, the flood, Genesis 6 and 9. And also, some passages appear to contradict each other, such as the number of people who went down to Egypt. This can be seen or found in the book of Genesis 46, verse 27, and Exodus 1, verse 5. Another argument against the Mosaic authorship of the Pentateuch is the anachronism. Now, what is anachronism? What do you understand by anachronism? Anachronism is something that is out of place in terms of time or context, and it may refer to an object, person, event, or idea that is not in its correct or expected time or period. So now we have anachronism and historical issues in the Pentateuch as an argument against the Mosaic authorship of the Pentateuch. Now, the Pentateuch contains references to events, places, and people that are not consistent. This can be found in the aspect of anachronism, like I mentioned earlier in the definition. Okay, so it involves people that are not consistent with Mosaic authorship, such as the mention of the city of Dan, found in the book of Genesis 14, verse 14, which was not known by that name during the time of Moses. So this is an argument against that. And another argument is that some scholars argue that the language and vocabulary used in the Pentateuch reflects a later period than the time of Moses. So the language that was used to write the Pentateuch is different from the language that was spoken during the time of Moses. Another argument in line with that is the historical issues in the Pentateuch. The historical issues there is that there is limited historical evidence outside the Bible to support the events described in the Pentateuch, which raises questions about its historical accuracy. And also, some archaeological discoveries have sometimes contradicted the biblical account, leading some scholars to question the historicity of the Pentateuch. So let's look at another argument against the Mosaic authorship of the Pentateuch. We have the documentary hypothesis, that is the multiple sources. Now, the documentary hypothesis here proposes that the Pentateuch is composed of multiple sources or documents, such as the J source, which is the Yahwist, the E source, which is the Elohist, the D source, which is the Deuteronomist, and the P source, which is the priestly. Now, these were edited over centuries into the Pentateuch. Now, these sources are thought to have been written by different authors or groups, which reflected different styles, theologies, and historical context in the Pentateuch. So, we've looked at the arguments against the Mosaic authorship of the Pentateuch. We've also looked at the arguments in support of the Mosaic authorship of the Pentateuch in our previous class. I'll see you guys next time in our next lesson. Please kindly listen to that. Thank you very much. I'll see you guys next time.